and welcome again to yet another Girl Who Don't You Know. And we're going to be chatting it up today with Dr. Rose M. B. Jackson-Beavers. Let me say it again. Rose, I always call her Rose, okay? So she didn't put the doctor on there and all that. Dr. Rose M. Jackson-Beavers. She's a visionary, she's an author, a trainer, a Christian mental health coach. I love me some Rose. I have her on every year because she talks about something that is dear and near to my heart. It is about mental wealth, mental health, mental, just keeping yourself mentally good. So, without further ado, Rose, how are you today?
I am doing fine. I tell you, how about yourself?
Hey, I'm trying to make it, girl. I'm trying to make it. It's sunshine out, In St. Louis, we had 40 days and 40 nights almost of rain, and it just was not good on my mental well being. We talk behind the scenes, everybody, about seasonal affective disorder. I mean, I know I'm affected by the season, have not been diagnosed with the disorder, but I can diagnose my own self and say, I love some
Mm-hmm.
sunshine and I
Yes.
know how it makes me feel. So, yeah. So we're gonna get into that today about just mental illness and things of that nature. Rose,
Mm-hmm.
start us off.
Well, today what we were going to talk about too is depression. With
Mm-hmm.
everything that's happening in society, not only just political but worldwide, a lot of people are really experiencing depression, not knowing what to do about it or even understanding it. So I just wanted to kind of go over a little bit about what are the most common mental illnesses out here. And for many, and for myself, the first step in learning about mental illness is just making yourself aware about what it is and understanding that there's over 200 classified mental health illnesses, but the most common one is depression. And at some point, we'll talk about anxiety because that also is a very common one as well, because they both have very similar signs and symptoms. But today, I guess we're going to just stick with depression. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we look at what is depression, we're talking about, uh, we're looking for signs that people are going through depression. And when we think about signs or what we see, and symptoms or what a person experiences. So we'll get a little bit more into that as we have this conversation. So,
Wow, that's
what
great.
do you, yeah,
What is depression? Let's go for it. What is depression? Give us the definition.
Well, what I always try to let people know is this a persistent feeling of sadness or a loss of interest in things that you normally like doing. It's a major depressive disorder that
Mm-hmm.
lasts for at least 2 weeks and affects a person's emotions. It affects our thinking, our behavior, and our physical well being, as well as it affects how we carry out work and satisfy relationships and our daily activities that we go through. So, what I always like to tell people is that we all become sad at some point in our life, but it becomes a disorder, issue when it lasts more than 2 weeks. So, letting people understand that, because even yesterday in having a conversation, somebody was telling me yesterday that they were depressed. And I said, how long has this been going on? And it was like, it's been going on for quite a while.
Wow,
And like
wow.
more than 2 weeks, yes. Do you know what's causing it? And they couldn't put their hands on it. And then I talked to them about seeking support, getting help. Because oftentimes people don't think anything about it. I'm going to get over this. But if it goes longer than 2 weeks, you do need to take care of it, because now you're dealing with the severity of it. We're talking about the duration and the impact on somebody's life. So we have to know how to distinguish between just being sad and it being a disorder.
Right, right. And some of the symptoms may be. I know they have symptoms that they tell you if you have this.
Yeah.
But okay, so tell us a little bit of that. It may
So
be so. For example, I think you told me before that looking at people and seeing something that's unusual about them. And I use the example, if you don't see my hair combed, you need to do something with me, right?
Mhm.
So give us something like that, and
So
tell
you
us.
want to make sure that when you're talking about depression, you're talking about signs or things that you see in the individual. And I remember, a lot of people say, "How did you get into this field?" I got into this area from growing up. My mother wanted to work really, really bad. With 8 kids, my father was like, "You don't have to work anywhere. I'll take care of you. You take care of kids." But
Hmm.
my mother had this long this goal that she wanted to feel really self-sufficient. It took years for her to feel like that taking care of 8 kids, balancing checkbooks, feeding kids, taking care of household, going to all these activities was doing exactly what she would have been doing on any jobs planning. And so
Right,
I got an understanding from watching her and seeing that signs was what I was seeing in her. The sadness would overtake where they would pull the curtains back, kind of sit in the darkness, crying,
hmm,
those kind of things. Maybe somebody might throw up, be nauseous, but then the symptoms is what people are feeling. Like my mother, maybe she would feel dizzy, lightheaded, blurry eyes, having difficulty seeing. These were things that she would say. And eventually I learned that these are things that happen to people with heart racing, palpitations, trembling, those kind of things are, what happens to people. So distinguishing between signs and symptoms is important in understanding what happens with people. And then, so the other thing is, I always say, don't get this wrong because we do have bad days.
hmm.
But just keep remembering that when it goes that longer than 2 weeks, it's really important that we understand that. So when we look at signs and symptoms, we're looking for physical. So you're looking at lack of energy. You're looking at somebody sleeping too much, weight loss or weight gain. You're looking at unexplained aches and pains in one's body. But behavior wise, when I said the crying, loss of motivation, they don't take care of their appearance. I think the last time you and I talked about this, I was telling you about I knew that a person that I knew in love was depressed because they had all this beautiful long hair and it used to be gorgeous. People would like want to touch it because it was so gorgeous, and then all of a sudden she started just pulling it back into a big nappy ponytail.
Mm.
Wouldn't put on any clothes, didn't care about her appearance, and I knew then, something was going on. Began to withdraw from people, didn't want to talk. And then psychological kinds of signs, sadness, they're having mood swings, snapping at you, feelings of hopelessness, and being irritable. So those are some of the signs and symptoms that you can see in individuals.
I love the way that you kind of classified it. The physical, you said physical, right?
Uh-huh.
And the physical part was what? Weight gain, weight loss,
Yes. Lack of energy,
aches and
sleeping
pains.
too
Now,
much,
yeah, drinking too much. I mean, just
sleeping too
really,
much. Yes, uh-huh.
just trying to really, in a sense, you're trying to diagnose yourself, and you're trying to get yourself out of it some kind of way. So you overeat, okay?
Hmm.
It become an emotional eater. That's what I'll just say. You
Yes.
become somewhat of an emotional eater because you go for your comfort foods. For me,
Hmm.
my comfort food is crunchy Cheetos. Crunchy Cheetos, okay?
I like those too.
I love crunchy Cheetos. The only thing I
Yes.
hate is that it get on your fingers and you can't even try to fool somebody that you wasn't eating it, right? So crunchy Cheetos is my go-to when I'm
Uh-huh.
not feeling so great, okay? Or something is just to work my nerves bad, right?
Yes.
So my sign, I'll just use myself, would be if I buy the big bag versus the little bitty bag, okay?
Uh-huh.
It can determine how bad off I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I rapidly get past it because I eat them all up, right? But nevertheless, you're saying that if I continue to eat crunchy Cheetos, just keep on eating them, then that may be a possibility of a sign that I'm really depressed. And
Especially
I keep.
if you know that you're eating all these crunchy Cheetos because you feel sad, you feel disappointed, you feel some loss, then you know what those are. And that's what I was saying yesterday when as I talked to this young lady, I said, you know what? We talk about if it goes longer than 2 weeks, we need to get help. I said, but you know what? I don't need if I know that I don't feel too good or maybe I'm crying or I'm snapping at people. I know something is going on. You know what I did the other day? I picked up the phone and I texted my coach, my health coach.
Uh-huh.
I need to talk to you because I need to figure it out because I know I'm aware of this now. I have knowledge about depression. I'm not going to let it go too long. So
Okay.
that's why, people say, why do you do this? And this is why I do it. Because I would hate for it to go so long that people feel they can't get out of it, and they stop trying to. And so that's why it's so important to let people know to become more knowledgeable about these things that happen to them so that we can address them early.
Yes, yes. I love
So,
I love to address them early. And I love the
mm-hmm,
fact that you said that it's almost like to thy own self be true. You need to
yeah,
know that
yeah,
that something is wrong. And we'll go crunchy
mm-hmm,
Cheetos again. Crunchy Cheetos every day. I'm trying to get a bag of crunchy Cheetos. That's a clear sign, okay, that something is going wrong. Something is on my nerve, or I am not feeling well.
because that's
I
what
know,
you do. Now, if I pick up the crunchy Cheetos and I'm
right?
eating, I just might be greedy. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's what Rose. That's another show. Anyway, but
yes,
that's another show.
yes,
But crunchy Cheetos, I almost can tell where I am by going to get crunchy Cheetos. I'm like, ooh,
mm-hmm,
something got on my real nerve. Okay,
mm-hmm,
but what I'm saying is that you have to know you. Okay, like you said, I think it might not be 2 weeks. It's not right for you to sit there and do hash marks like 1, 2, 3. No, okay, I can't keep buying crunchy Cheetos all the time. They're not really
right,
cheap anyway. But uh I can't keep doing that, but to thy own self be true, and you know you. Okay.
yes.
And apart and aside from other people knowing you, you have to know your own self to know something ain't right here. Okay.
And not only that,
How you
I
feeling
want
good? Go
right.
ahead.
And the other thing is making sure you look at, we have contributing factors of depression.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that I've lost somebody, I've had a death in the family, that's a contributing factor.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a victim of a crime, that's going to cause me to suffer some depression. Side effects of medication, a loss of jobs, a breakup of a relationship, or other medical conditions. I've been told that maybe I have something that's not curable. So these are contributing factors. So that's becomes a part of what you're going through. You know what might be happening, and then there are instances where you don't know. It could be a medical condition that's causing it. And so it's just being open to learn as much as you can about this so that you can take care of yourself.
Right, and that's the reason why I always bring mental health is wealth to me.
Uh huh.
And
Hmm.
and if you get that in your head and stuff, you'll start to know not only about others, but you really know
Yes.
about yourself.
Uh huh.
I'm like, I'm just not feeling good today. And it's
Right.
okay, Rose. It's okay to say, I'm not feeling good.
Yeah.
Okay. It's something how we'll go in a minute if we stump our baby toe and think it's broke, right? But we ain't going when it's something in our head.
Hmm.
Okay? We're not going. So, bringing you on my podcast and talking, we're wanting to bring awareness to it's okay for you to feel what you feel, but what is not okay is the fact that you will not try to get help, try to talk to someone about this, Rose.
Yes.
That's what's not okay.
Right.
And talking to someone, we know in our neck of the woods, our neighborhoods, you ain't talking to no therapist because something wrong, blah blah this. But nowadays, Rose, more and more people are going to therapists, and I contribute that to COVID-19 for some reason. So
Yeah.
what's going on that scene as
We
far
had
as
a
people going?
people. It was more people talking. it was more loss than we could ever imagine. We had a pandemic. So
Mm-hmm.
kids were out of school. They were used to not being around their friends. Parents were at home working all day with their kids, trying to
Ah,
feed them all day, keeping money coming in when your hours may have been decreased. People were being laid off. People were losing things. We didn't know when we was going back to work. And so it was a depression, not knowing if you should I take a shot? Should I take this vaccination? What is it going to do with me? I've lost people in my family. So people were, there was a lot of therapists and counselors. There were money being put out here to try to
mm-hmm.
get people in to, see people because our kids were really going through. Can you imagine not seeing your friends for weeks and weeks at a time? And
Right.
now you might be sitting at home with a parent that lost her job. And now she's sitting in the house with you and you don't want to clean up because you going through, I want to go out and play with my friends. I want to go to school. So it's a lot going on,
Mm-hmm.
chaotic stuff happening. So there were a lot more people talking and trying to get this message out. We were going into the churches. We was trying to change the way people see things because Marilyn, as an
Mm-hmm.
African American, as a black person, we were taught whatever happens in our home stays in our home. We don't go
That's
telling
right.
our business.
That's
And
right.
so if I'm sad or somebody in my house is sad, I couldn't say that to anybody. And then our parents would tell us, don't you say nothing, don't you tell nobody you sick or that you crying all the time because they may take you from me or other family people in the community. They're not going to be want to be around you. It's like
Mm-hmm.
how they used to say they used to wear if people were scared if they found out that a person had cancer, they wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't say nothing because everybody thinks something gonna rub off on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way it was with, mental health. You would go to somebody's house. And, you remember when we first saw Soul Food, the movie.
Okay.
We all resonated with that, right? Because we
Right.
all knew that there was an Uncle Joe in somebody's house, locked behind the door, that we could not see, that we could not talk to because nobody wanted to know that Uncle Joe was in that room. Because
Right.
whatever he was dealing with could rub off on you, end up in the community, and then everybody stay away from you.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
so
that's true.
with COVID, we had to come out here. We had to get churches involved. We had to get everybody involved, teachers, counselors, because we needed to act to help people. Because you saw a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things happen, more depression, suicides, so many things was going on. So we had to talk about it. And so now what's happened is with your platform, you've been addressing this a whole lot. You know, I've, I've I've written books on it. This is my
Yes.
book, Bottle Up Inside, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a book, African American Teens in Depression. It's for not only parents, leaders in the church, pastors, teachers, schools. This book is in schools. It's everywhere. It's also for young people. I wrote this with Pastor Jermaine Alberty, and he is also a national mental health first aid instructor across the country, training everywhere. We wanted this book to resonate with everybody so that people will understand what is depression, how to deal with it. And that's another thing. More information coming out, more studies. And then I wanted to go into churches on my previous
Mm-hmm.
position. I was
Mm-hmm.
working with churches. We trained over 100 churches. Since then, I've done 100 churches by myself. This is my book, Breaking Behavior Health Barriers in Faith-Based Communities, which gives strategies to address the stigma of mental health in our churches. Because in our churches, people wouldn't say anything. You know
Nope.
why? Because you might not let me sit on your committee if you thought that I suffered from bipolar or I was depressed or I had anxiety. You didn't want no trouble on your committee, so you didn't let me participate on anything. So I'm not going to tell you something wrong with me because I want to come to church. I want this to be my safe place, so I can't tell you what's happening with me. So
Yeah.
we have to go into churches to do this work as well.
But I love that because COVID-19, we did want to talk to somebody. Okay. It
Yes,
also made us isolate ourselves too much, and humans need humans. You know the song, People Need People. We really
yes,
do need people,
that's right.
and the stigmatism of mental illness within in our neighborhood makes it hard for us to even talk to people about it because
Yes,
people like, okay, this is the word and I'm using it. Something wrong with her, girl, child. She crazy, right? And people don't want that to be said about, right.
What's
Yeah,
that?
that's a little sign everybody know, ooh, something wrong with her.
Her
But
elevator don't go to the top.
exactly. So some ain't right up there. But we have to stop that stigmatism. And like I said, we have to learn to go to we have to learn to therapists. Go see somebody.
Yes.
Go see somebody if you're not feeling well. Just please go do that. Because with COVID-19, we did a whole bunch of telehealth.
Hmm.
Okay. We did a whole bunch of different ways that you don't actually have to go into the office. So nowadays, it is basically no excuse for
That's
not
right.
trying to get some type of help for what's going on
Right.
in your life. Because those therapists, I hear more and more people, my friends saying, my therapist said, it is no way in the 60s, 70s, 80s that you heard
90s,
somebody,
2000s.
2000, there you go,
Yes.
that they would say that. They don't say
Right.
that nowadays. I mean, but nowadays it's like, if you ain't got one, you ain't living.
And
It's
let me tell you this too.
uh,
This is why it's so important for us to talk about it in our family. See, my mother, she listened. She used to watch Young and the Restless every day. And Catherine Chancellor went through all
uh-huh.
kind of stuff, Nikki and them, alcoholism, depression, all kind of things that was going on. So my mother learned from there that it was okay to get help. So my mother passed that on to us. My mother was going to see a counselor when we weren't even thinking about that, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That was unheard of, but my mother learned because education is important. She saw
Yes.
it on TV, and my mother was the person who thought, hey, ain't nobody better than me. If you can get go see a counselor, I'm going to see one too. I feel sad sometimes too. And my
Yes.
mother started seeing, but she passed that on. I saw that. I was aware of it. And the same thing with my daughter. My daughter knows that this is what I'm going to do. My daughter knows that when my mother passed, that was the most hurting thing. I didn't get a chance to grieve her while my mother was dying. So I was there with her, watching her for over a year, and so
Hmm.
taking care of her. But once she was gone, that it was like really hard. And you know what I did? I pick up the phone and I got help. I called
Hmm.
somebody. So my
Hmm.
daughter watches that, and she's gonna do the same. And my grandson will do the same because we're gonna let him know it is okay to seek help. Don't sit up here and be sad. I tell everybody in my family. I'm sure people see me come and say, "Oh, okay, here she go. Let me wipe these tears, cause she gonna say I need to see somebody." Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Here she come asking you. It's
Yes.
almost like it reminds me of my mother. People don't even like to cough around her. You need some castor oil. You just be like, because it's like I don't want to see her coming. I don't want to cough. I
That's
don't want to do
right.
anything.
That's
But no,
right.
Rose. But that's true. But that's good. I love the fact that you got a high radar for it. It's like
Mhm.
no,
Mhm.
But we have to understand this. And the thing I always say is that if you go to a therapist and you don't feel like you vibing with that therapist as they talk now, please just don't not go, if that makes
Right.
sense. Okay, please go. That's all I'm saying.
It's
Just
you're not
please
gonna.
go
It's
to
just like
another.
Right, it's just like you meet somebody, right? You meet a friend, and you go out with that person, and you don't jive. You like, uh-oh, wait a minute. I thought we had something in common. We don't.
We
So
don't.
that's the same thing with a therapist. If you go to a therapist and you don't feel that connection, you don't feel like you're benefiting, find somebody else. It's the same way with medicine, right? If
Yep.
that medicine does not work for us, make us feel bad, we're supposed to be calling the doctor and saying that this is not working for me, and they call you back in. Well, we're going to keep working till we find out what works for you. That's the same way with a therapist.
Right. That's
There's so
exactly
many
right.
out here. You work till you find what works for you.
That's right. That's right. And don't give up. Okay.
Don't
Just
give
please
up.
don't give up. If you're
Yes,
not feeling well in your head, okay, you're not feeling well in your head.
that's
Because
right. That's right.
right?
Yes.
You know that your head ain't feeling right.
Uh
Okay.
huh.
But please just don't give up. If you learn nothing from this podcast today and our conversation, please don't give up on what you believe and what you know. that you're just not feeling good. Please
Yes.
don't find that therapist, find somebody to talk to,
That's right.
find
That's
that
right.
professional, find somebody who's not a professional, but find somebody to
Mm-hmm.
talk to, and just don't do it by yourself. That's what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying. You just have to get
Right.
like, I'm feeling a certain way, I'm this, that, and the other. It's okay, to be not feeling
Mm-hmm.
okay. And I'll say it again, it's not okay not to try to get help
Yes.
about not feeling okay. I
Right.
think that would be good. So,
And
Rose,
you mentioned some too a little bit early when you talked about seasonal depression too.
yes,
There's two other types. That seasonal where you're dealing with less sunlight. I always tell people to really look after your family members, your congregation in the winter months, because not only is it's dark outside early, it's cold and dreary, but oftentimes those are holiday seasons when people are used to being with relatives who may no longer be here. So this usually occurs during the fall and winter months, and that kind of feeling may be decreased during the spring and summer months. And then the other thing is for postpartum depression when
oh,
that occurs when someone have a baby
mm-hmm.
and it impacts the mother and it could also with the child. So those are some other things just to have enough awareness about to kind of know what's going on with you.
That's right. Postpartum depression. The time that we're recording this. In fact, the week is coming up for Black maternal child and health, or something of that nature. Is coming up. I think it's this week coming up. But anyway,
Okay.
but nevertheless, postpartum depression is serious. It is
Mhm.
real. It
Mhm.
ain't, girl, just get over it. It ain't that. Okay.
Yeah.
It is real. Postpartum depression, also seasonal affective disorder. That's real. I know myself.
Yes.
It's like,
Mhm.
man, I don't feel like doing nothing. I have to fight to get it.
Yes.
But like you said, Rose, as we wrap up, some of the things that you're talking about is that depression, everybody gets depressed sometimes, but
Mhm.
you're saying that depression that's lasting more than 2 weeks,
You need to see
okay,
someone because it's becoming a disorder.
it's becoming a disorder, and you got to seek people. And the good thing about Rose, put that book up there again, bottled up inside.
Bottled
we
up
we
inside.
we have books that and manuals and things for you to read and get more information on it,
Yes.
bottled up inside. And then the other one is breaking behavioral
Health barriers.
Yes, health barriers in faith-based communities. All
Communities.
those can be purchased on Amazon.
Yes.
Go to that book, and I also want to put a plug in for Rose right here. She does do the training for faith-based communities. So your pastor, your I don't care if you got just a cell group or people meeting together, hey, reach out to Rose. Okay,
Yes.
Rose is the person that has just got that personable type of personality.
Mhm.
That's not condescending, but she's there just to make sure that you get the knowledge that you can help somebody else. So don't hesitate to reach out to her. Okay.
Mhm.
So Rose, in the last minute or so, what you got to tell these people?
I want to tell the people that recovery is possible. If you are depressed, I want them to remember that recovery is the process in which people are able to live, to work, to learn, and participate fully in their community. So I think of it like this. When you get depressed, you may stop going to work, you may stop eating. Recovery is getting all those things back that you lost. You
Wow.
can get that stuff back. You can work. It's just, just taking care of yourself and getting the support and the help you need. Just remember, recovery is possible.
Wow, I love that. And on that note, hey, this has been Marilyn Green, girl who don't you know? And you all need to like, subscribe, and do that little notification bell if you're on Facebook, okay? Not Facebook. Oh Lord, on YouTube, okay? Do that little notification bell. But nevertheless, thank you, Rose, so much, and we will be signing off until next time. Rose, you have a great day, and everybody listening,
Thank
you all
you.
have a great day as well. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you for having me.